The greatest power you possess is your ability to choose. Join Lowe's Moore as he reveals how you can begin to maximize that power by exploring yourself on the deepest levels and committing to making lasting and positive changes. Get ready to achieve breakthroughs that will lead to accelerated growth and transformation, because you are now tuned in to The Blueprint.
Why the actions contradict the lamb. I'm fellowshipping when I'm with the fam. That's more relations, that's foreign and foreign.
Good evening and welcome back to the Blueprint Podcast. I'm your host, Lowe's Moore, and again, I am what? Everybody should be able to say this with me. I'm excited. I'm excited to be back with you another week. And man, this is a busy month, right? And it's close to being over, right? I was thinking today as I was watching the basketball game, somebody said this is the last week, or next week is the last week of college basketball, the regular season. I'm like, what? Already? It just seemed like yesterday we did March Madness, and here it comes again. March is right around the corner, and so. But I'm still excited, and this month we've had February's a busy month, but we had the Super Bowl, we had the NBA All-Star game. I mean, it's a busy month, and plus number one is Black History Month. But Black History Month is, to me, is 365 days out of the week.
Out of the year.
Out of the year. Yeah, let me correct. Out of the year. But it's also a month where we celebrated Valentine's Day, right? And last year, I said this last week, last year we did 28 days, right, of a love challenge. And so I was on every day from 12 p.m. to 12:30, like a lunch break. And I came on with a guest, or I would just come on for 30 minutes where you could pause, right? And it's a love challenge. I challenge that the remnant of all that we need today. It's the number one remnant for all that we need, and today in this time we need love, right? And we don't need love like Black History Month is 365 days out of the week. Well, love should be done and perform, because love is a verb, is an action, right? It should be done 365 days out of the week. I keep saying the week. Out of the year, 365 days out of the year. And you can see I have my shirt on today. I put it on. Now these three remain: faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
you know what that reminds me? I should put it on next week, since love is such a powerful thing. Remember on March 15th at 7:00 p.m., the Levinger Theater at Lehman College, Love Conquers All play, which is directed by Keisha Mayo, will be featured at the Levinger Theater at Lehman College. And I'm the stage manager, so it's pretty cool for me to be a part of it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and so love. I mean, if you wake up in the morning and you're thinking about love, and you're thinking about love unconditionally, right, it is a very powerful tool that we need to use each and every day. And then I want to show you a quick video. Pastor Poe over at the Greater Centennial Church in Mount Vernon, New York, right? And I was talking to you about acts of kindness. And I was challenging you guys during the love challenge of 365 days out of the year, right? I was challenging us to be conscious of acts of kindness every day, because that's where it starts. Mm-hmm. Just thinking about it every day. What can I do? Can I call somebody, right? Am I aware that somebody I walk by may need me to say hello? Right? Or get a kind word from me, right? There's so many ways that we could perform acts of kindness, right? And I want to show you this quick video. I thought it was very powerful when I saw it on YouTube. Pastor Poe, Stephen Poe, and he did an act of kindness that I enjoyed.
Okay.
Yeah, check this out.
Sure. Great.
What's up, everybody? Me and Orville over here at Food Town. We popped up once again, and we was able to bless some people today. We've only been here for like maybe a half hour, 45 minutes, and we blessed people with $2,000 worth of groceries today. Plus, because we went into our own pockets. God bless you, ma'am. God bless you. Enjoy that. Be safe.
Yes, I will.
Take care now. And so we out of money, so we leaving. But we came to bless some people today on behalf of Greater Centennial, our men's ministry. Me and this guy did it again. We just blessed some people. So we'll see y'all next time. Be blessed.
See how powerful
You know what was cool about that?
was that?
One of the ladies that goes to Vernon Heights and works with Dee Dee, with my sister, she was there and she walked up to him and she said, Pastor Pogue, you got the cutest granddaughter. She is so adorable. And I love what you do with her when you're on the pulpit. And he said, really? He said, what are you doing? She said, I'm shopping. He said, well, let me pay for your groceries. And she called Dee Dee. She said, your sister, your niece's father-in-law paid for my groceries. I said, yeah, he's a good guy. He's definitely a good guy.
Yeah. I mean, be conscious, because it's so powerful to be conscious of acts of kindness that we can do each and every day. I mean, that was powerful right there. And I'm still on my job, right? Because every time it snows, you guys know that a gentleman asked me. I didn't know him. He's down the street from me. I didn't know him. He just, as I was doing my walk, he stopped me and asked me, when it snows, could I help him? Right. And I'm thinking, like, I got to shovel my house, and then I got to shovel yours. And he stopped right in front of his house, and I walked by him and I saw all them steps, but I didn't even blink. Right. And so every time it snows, right, I make sure I get there. I clean off his car, because he's not fully disabled, but he's, walking with a couple of canes and stuff like that. And he got all them stairs to get up. And so I make sure I clean off his car. Right. And I make sure I clean off his steps, because he may have a doctor's appointment or whatever. He may need to go out and get some food. Right. And then I'll salt the whole area. So, yeah. And sometimes when you say you want to show love, right? You say, oh, I want to show love and I want to do acts of kindness. God tests you. And that was a test for me, because I was talking about love and acts of kindness. And all of a sudden a stranger drove up and asked me if I would help. And I'm thanking God that I was able.
So I want to make sure that the random act of kindness goes a little deeper, right? Because I need some pinkberry, right?
Oh, man.
I'm sorry. I digress. But when we ask things to be done at home, what my nickname is for my husband is knows more, because he says no before he says anything else. So I'm going to put the disguise of an old person and come up and say, well, I'm already old. But somebody say, can I have this? It's a random act of kindness. Every time I ask for anything for the next couple of days, I'm going to put random act of kindness.
Oh, here we go. Here we go. Let's get rolling. I got my seed. This is my miniature basketball. This is my pebble in the pond, right? Pebble in the pond. That's what Pauletta said about my book, Lowe's, from the Boys and Girls Club to the NBA, Life on the Narrow Road, right? He said that the book was a pebble in a pond, right? It's a seed. Tonight's show, we're gonna put that pebble in the pond, and we're gonna expect a ripple effect. Right. And I want to say thank you again. We're streaming on Facebook, Lowe's More the Blueprint on Facebook, Lowe's More the Blueprint on YouTube. And I want to thank my good friend, Philip Reed. Right. He's the owner of the Phoenix National Network, PNN. Right. So we're streaming on there, Roku, and the Fire TV stick. Right. We're on there as well. And so let's get rolling. Let's start with my book of the week.
Oh, sorry about that.
That's a good book.
That's a good
book right there.
Yeah. We got to talk about that again.
That's a good book right there. But I was watching the CBS, and Keenan Jones came on, right? And he wrote this picture book about his experience in the barbershop. And he was talking about how during the pandemic when nobody could get a haircut, right? How he missed all the conversations, whether it was political, sports, right, entertainment, how he missed it. And he created this book about the power of the barbershop and all the experiences and the men that he's met in the barbershop and the young kids that come through that they've been able to mentor and coach and different things like that. I thought it was a, very powerful book because all of us go to the barbershop, right? And we know the conversation. Just like you go to the beauty parlor, I'm sure there's a wealth of knowledge and information being given out at the beauty parlor. So it is at the barbershop. So just came out. Make sure you get yourself a copy of that. I didn't get mine yet, but I will. And so here's the word of the week. History. Right? And I mean, his story. Right? I always say this on the show that if you don't know where you've been, you have no idea where you are. And then you have no idea where you're going. So you need to know history. That's why Black history is so important, right? Is that we're able to tell our story, not for a month, but every day. We need to be able to tell that story. And my wife brought something to my attention, right, that you guys need to be aware of and something that we don't think about when it comes to Black history, right? But check this video out, and you're going to enjoy this. Yeah.
Happy Black Deaf History Month. Yeah, that's right. You heard me. Black Deaf history is important too. So my family and I are going to tell you about a few Black deaf people who have made an impact in the Black deaf community.
Claudia Gordon, the first Black deaf woman to become a lawyer in the United States and the first deaf graduate of American University's law school.
Dr. Glenn B. Anderson, the first Black deaf person to receive his PhD from New York University. Also, he was awarded a Lifetime Achievement Award from National Black Deaf Advocates.
Warren Snipe, Black deaf musician, rapper. He helped music become more inclusive for deaf people.
CJ Jones. He is a motivational speaker and the first Black deaf actor in an international movie.
Dr. Carolyn McCaskill, a retired professor at Gallaudet University, and she also co-authored a book by the name of The Hidden Treasures of Black ASL. Happy Black Deaf History Month. Yeah, that's right. You heard me. Black Deaf history.
Black deaf history is important. I want to say to everybody, happy Black History Month, right? As we celebrate and we remember. I mean, that was very powerful. Yeah. Because I didn't know. Yeah.
But you know how I am about ASL. Like, I absolutely love it. So that was right up my alley.
Yeah. So my wife had a challenge a few years back, and in her career. One of the things they didn't have at the job was anybody to address if people came in who were deaf. And she took on the challenge to take the course to learn sign language. And so she went through it, and she's pretty proficient at it, right? She's now training our grandkids, right, in sign language. And so when you ask them a question, they'll start moving their hands and stuff like that as well as they're speaking, right? So in our household, everybody, my youngest daughter is now, and she got a book on it, right? And so we need to become aware. Yeah, it's important to become aware.
It's a whole culture. It's not just a language. And, I'm hoping one day we can do a full show on it because I absolutely believe that there's not enough attention, especially when you're of color and you have any other disabilities, and then you have happen to be deaf and need to have somebody to communicate with you. So my sign language teacher is actually deaf, and he is also mute because he was born deaf. So I learned how to completely communicate and know his whole life story just through sign language. And so it's pretty awesome. I do miss him because I haven't had any contact with him in a while, but I'm going to go back and get him, and we're going to get some things going. So, yeah.
And I got to tell you this amazing story. This is an amazing story, right? I go to LA Fit. Yeah, it's a plug for LA Fit. But I go to LA Fit every other day because it's so cold outside. I used to walk every other day, and now I go to LA Fit and I lift my weights, and for about an hour, and then I go swim for about an hour. I saw an amazing thing, right? I don't know why I was amazed, but there's a lady I was walking in, and I turned around to hold the door for her, and she was blind, so she had cane, and I held the door. I said, "Oh, let me hold the door for you." So I held the door for her, and she made her way into the gym, right? And I went and got dressed and stuff like that. And as I'm going upstairs, she made her way upstairs, and she went through her routine, her exercise routine. She knew where all the machines were, and she did her exercise. She did her lifting. She did everything. Did the little stepper. She was doing the step thing. I was excited. I mean, and people just watch her go through, right? Just goes to show you, right, that there's nothing that's not possible.
Oh, yeah. When you think about it, though, honestly, when you think about handicap and not handicap, we're handicapped. Those of us who have things that we can do, because we start putting limitations on people because of what we think they can't do because we think we have it. So basically we try to handicap them because we think we have something that they don't. But they literally most of the time have more than what we do because they've learned how to be resilient beyond their, the things that have hindered them. So yeah, man, that's a whole nother show. We got to get going.
We got to get going. I want to give praise to my son Isaiah, who's born with spina bifida, and he's in a wheelchair. So we know a lot. We've learned a lot and become aware of a lot about people with disabilities and the greatness of them. So, I'm excited about that. And so let's get rolling. I need to be finished here in about 3 more minutes. I got to get into the show. Okay. So let's start with the affirmation, the Hill Harper, Pierce Harper affirmation moment.
All right.
Yeah, there it goes. It says, I am black, beautiful, blessed. Did that say breathtaking?
Breathtaking.
Brilliant, brave, Black history.
Yeah.
That's my affirmation quote moment. And then my music and movie, right? I had the James Brown. Since we're doing Black History Month, I had to
say it loud.
Yeah. Don't get me started. I got the feel. Nah, don't get me started. And then I started thinking about some movies, right? And I was thinking about all these movies that we show for Black History Month, but we show them throughout the whole entire year. And whenever they come on, I have a very hard time not stopping, right? The only one I have a problem with going to see, even though I know it's Black History, is Till, because I just can't do it. I got people that just won't watch Till, but it's a part of your history and you should know it.
Yeah.
Right. And so, here goes. I was watching the news, and General Joseph McNeil, he came on a special on the Greensboro Four. These are the first the black men that got into the counter and refused to move. They wanted to be served.
The sit-in.
Yeah, they did the sit-in, and he was on there, and of course he became a general. And I thought it was just so impressive listening to him and some of the amazing things that they had accomplished at that particular time. And so he was my persons, and they are my persons of the week.
All righty.
Yeah.
So you got some birthday shout outs. We're gonna make this quick, right?
Yep.
Okay, here we go.
Samaria, happy birthday. Love you. Many, many more. And then happy anniversary to my sister and my brother-in-law, Randy, the Georges. Happy anniversary. 30 years. Woo! You guys are moving up there. Happy anniversary. And then to my oldest daughter, on yesterday, we went out with her. We had a little dinner, sing happy birthday, had cake. To my oldest daughter, Michelle. Right, she's gonna be 39 for 39 more years later, you're going to hear she can be 70. I'm 39. Because that's what Uncle Sonny used to do. He never went past 39. Right? And then we call him Buns. Happy birthday to Calvin, my brother-in-law. Right? We were out with him last night as well. And we want to wish everybody happy anniversary and happy birthday. And then my niece Joya, happy birthday to you as well. Wow. That's a lot. And then, as I said, my oldest son is playing Eddie Kendricks in the play Ain't Too Proud, The Life and Times of the Temptation. It was a Broadway play, now on the road, and they're heading to California, right? And their first stop is San Francisco. They'll be there for most of March.
Yeah. And that's Losey. He's second from the left, in case you want to know. He's playing the role of Eddie Kendricks.
Yes. All right. Let's get rolling. I'll show this video and I'll be right back.
Yeah. Our son is trying to call us. We're going to have to catch him later.
Thank you to Father Kern for developing the program. The program was instrumental in my life as a result of going through this program. When I went through this program, I went back to high school and I did better in high school. And having done better in high school, I had the opportunity to go to college.
I learned that there's a bigger life outside of 8-block radius in Hartford, Connecticut. I was enriched with Father Kern, who was a wonderful man, who was a patient man, who fathered all of us. I had a chance to grow inside as a man. Without the Hotchkiss program foundation, I really don't know where I would be in life today.
It gave us discipline, gave us leadership abilities, gave us direction. It took us out of the inner city during the summer, gave us an opportunity. It's programs like this that are needed today.
It just opened everybody's eyes that were in the inner city. It was just great. It changed everybody's lives. I mean, it just opened up a new world for us, beyond what you can imagine.
Good to hear their stories and realize the great successes that they are examples of their personal lives in this wonderful program that I had the privilege of being a part of.
My name is Derek Milby. I attended Hotchkiss School from the summer of 1968 to 71, and it was one of the best things that happened to me in my life.
Being part of it has definitely uplifted me in so many ways that you can never imagine. At the same time, it has also taught me the principles as far as education is concerned. How can I ever repay you for what you've done for me? And your words were simply, what I've done for you, do for someone else. And I did it. Thank you.
Without people like Father Kern and Mr. Eddie and Mr. Crane, I don't know that we would have made it.
The main thing that stuck with me was that greater opportunity meant greater responsibility.
I was playing golf and skipped around playing golf, and my book was The Longest Yard.
Okay.
So I came in late, I read the first chapter and the last two chapters, and the teacher said, okay, tell me what you read.
Right.
After 2 minutes, she says, you didn't read that book.
I learned here the importance of education.
This program actually turned my life around because I was just trying to find a way to fit in with the folks in my neighborhood, and fitting in meant doing stuff that you're not supposed to be doing.
David Kern was from the South Bronx parish, was appointed as the director of the Greater Opportunities program, which was to launch in 1965. So I was honored and pleased to be part of the planning process and to be on the faculty for the first year of the Greater Opportunities program. And it is an honor and a blessing and a warm memory for me to meet some of my first students who are back, whose face I remember, whose smile I'll never forget.
My life has been different, ever since then. It's been on a different plane. And I think we all can look at people who are our peers who didn't go to Hotchkiss, and we see some of the things that happened to them, and we see the things that happened to us.
82% of us went to college, graduated. And those who didn't, they made sure their children went. So it's proven that this program works.
Awesome. Yeah, so I want to make some individual introductions. We want to first start with Dr. Robert J. Woodbine.
Good evening.
Doc, welcome.
Thank you so much. It's an honor and a privilege to be here and one of the 4 guests to talk about our experiences with the GO program.
Yes, sir. And then I want to welcome Larry Williams, right? Or Lawrence. He said, don't, either one of them. Lawrence, Larry.
Either one. Lawrence is fine.
And then Albert Smith III.
Good evening, everyone.
Yeah,
nice to meet you again.
Yes, sir.
Oh, it's a pleasure listening to your podcast.
Oh, thank you. And then Leonard Birdsall.
Good evening. How's everybody?
So now we got a starting 5.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's get let's get rolling here. And thanks again for mentioning that you enjoyed listening. I tried to give a little variety of some of the things that are happening in regards to the power of love, the importance of education, and particularly for me, in writing my book, it was all about overcoming and combating illiteracy. And so that's why every week I have a book of the week, a word of the week, and an affirmation, right? Each and every week, because that's important. That's important to me and my development. So again, I want to welcome you all for taking time out of your busy schedule and joining me this evening. I'm truly excited about it. And particularly, I guess you guys asked me a question before I came on, what struck me about having you guys come on. And of course, and you said, was it Black history or was it about education? And I said to each and every one of you, it's about both, right? Particularly when it comes to Black men, African-American men, and young men, we need to hear these stories, right, from the historical perspective. But we also need to hear the story because we need to continue to grow in terms of our education and higher learning, right? So I want to say thank you guys again. And 3 important things that we talk about on the show. Number 1 is and the importance and power of family, right? And number 2, the importance of faith. And number 3, the importance of education. Right. So as we in this conversation, hopefully we'll be able to touch on, and I'll start this question out for anybody who wants to answer it, is talk to me about family and how instrumental they were in terms of the GO program, the Greater Opportunity program, and their involvement and their impact on you guys growing up, right? And being able to have an opportunity to go to this particular program. Were they excited when they heard about the program? So talk a little bit about family and their whole involvement with the experience.
Smitty, you want to
go? It's a good question, Lowe's. My family was very supportive of the whole idea of going off to the summer program at the Hotchkiss School because there were 6 kids in my family and we only had room for 3. So one of us going away for the summer meant the other guys would be a little bit more comfortable. But my moms and pops were very supportive, and the people who lived in the building that I lived in, Doc Woodbine happened to be one of them. Lenny Birdsall was one of my closest friends from childhood. We were all tight, and all of our families surrounded us and supported us when they found out that we had been selected to go into this program. It was a very prestigious opportunity. They realized it, and they got behind us and pushed us wholeheartedly to go and do the best that we could. And you know, it cost a little money that most of them did not have, but we were able to get through. They supported us. They found ways to give us what we needed, and it made our inaugural program at the Hotchkiss Summer Program a meaningful experience for all of us.
Wow. Yeah. That's good. Anybody else? You want me to start calling you guys? I can call you out.
No, I'll step in.
Okay.
I'm used to stepping over people anyway.
Yeah.
Those are three good questions. Thanks for having us on this show. You know, it's necessary around the country.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it. You got a new fan. But the family, I think, is the most important part. Family and faith, they both go together. I can talk about my family. I'm the 8th of 9 children. And my mother, I never knew my father. I heard about him. I just never knew him. I was told he was deported to Jamaica because he rebelled against authority. My mother died when I was 7 years old, and I was raised by my 19-year-old sister. Me and my younger sister and my older sister, the one over me, we were raised because my mother passed. The rest of the family came together and wanted to keep us together so we wouldn't go into foster care. So that's part of the raw material that Father Kern was working with. But it's the family. Without a family, you're kind of left out there to just learn how to survive. And I remember my mother always taught us before how to be survivors. She prepared us for what we needed to do: house cleaning, cooking, sewing, you know. And being the youngest of like 9, I wore a lot of my brother's hand-me-downs. He was 10 years older than I was. So even going to church, we were the poor people in the back row of the church. But my mother made sure that we went. During the week, we would be Jehovah's Witnesses, and on weekends, we were Baptists. But she always put God out there first. So I kind of grew up confused. But after my mother passed, it was rough. You know, being exposed to the world and being in Hartford. I don't know if anyone is familiar with Hartford. I don't want to sound like a victim going through this, but it's reality, it's history. We have what we call the bottom. People come in from different countries or different places in the world. They start at the bottom. It's near the river front. Then there's a zip code where they move west. Once they make a little more money, the circumstances change. They go on 06120. And remember, this was 60 years ago that I'm talking about, 60, 70 years ago. It's still the poorest zip code in Connecticut. I've been fortunate enough to, through hard work and dedication, because I have a family of my own, to purchase a house, a couple of houses in the adjoining zip code. And I attribute all that to God, because again, that upbringing. And I found out that most people that I have come across in life that have succeeded in life, it's because of their family structure. And in particular, their mothers. There's 2 guys on this program, when I was roommates with them, they wanted to make sure their mother was proud of them when they got out of school. And so that was the drive. I'm sure that was the drive behind them succeeding. I quit college. After going on an athletic scholarship to Albany State College in Albany, Georgia. I wanted to play pro football. So after the first semester, I realized that I wasn't going to make it into pro football or anywhere and stay in college without the back support of the family. I didn't have it. So I dropped out and I did what not everybody, but most people in my neighborhood, they went to work. I worked 2 jobs for 40 years. So, with that being said, I'll pass on to the next person.
Yes, sir. All right. So, Leonard, you got to unmute yourself. There you go. You good?
Okay. All right. My mother and I were parishioners at St. Anne's Church, where Father Kern was the pastor. So we were well informed. We knew Father Kern very well. You know, we were around him when he was young and effervescent and full of energy all over the place. All right. But my mother was a single parent. And just like Smitty's rendition, I had 2 other brothers. If there was one less in the house, that meant there was one brother less in the bedroom. You know, so you know and it was great because it was a really safe and peaceful environment. Okay, my surprise would be that the diversity. We always talk about the books that we had to read. Okay, I was surprised and very pleased with the books. I read James Baldwin. I read Richard Wright. I read the autobiography of Malcolm X. They even had uh, uh, information on the Black Panthers. Okay, so I took that information, and you know, it opens your eyes. My comprehension picked up, but also I want to make the point. Right along with those books, I read John Steinbeck. I read J.D. Salinger. I read Mark Twain. You know, so we were well rounded, and I was able to take this learning experience into my adulthood when I started working. I happened to, on one of my jobs, become oh, very good. I happened to become a union representative. Okay, so I had to comprehend all the FDA regulations, the OSHA recs, the SOPs of the business that we were in, which was blood, and you know, I had to know these things in order to represent people with various clashes with the establishment, so to speak.
Awesome.
You know, it was a great experience. I loved going to Hotchkiss, but unfortunately, I was one of the few that didn't complete the program. My last year, I enlisted in the armed forces in the Army, and I did make it finally to college. I did get a lot of college credits at various schools and so forth. But I'm proud to say that I have 6 daughters, and all 6 of them graduated from college.
Awesome. Yeah, that was one of the things that they had mentioned in the video. You know, if you know one person didn't get higher education, man, they made sure that their children did, and
right.
and that's powerful. Yeah, and so Doc.
Yes, sir. Thanks again for inviting us to your show. It's a great program. My family hails from the Caribbean and South America, and I'm the first one in the family born in the U.S., born in Queens. I was raised both in the South Bronx and in Harlem, and at one point in the South Bronx, this is where I met Smitty for the first time. We had moved from Harlem to a tenement on 139th Street. And we were on I believe it was the second floor, if I'm not mistaken. And in that room, how many people lived in that in that apartment? I think we had 3 rooms. In what was an alcove, not really a room, I slept on an army cot, and my 4 other cousins who had just emigrated from Panama slept on bunk beds. So 5 of us were in this alcove. In the living room, my grandmother and my aunt slept in a pull-out sleep sofa, and in what we would consider the fire escape in the back, another part of the family that had emigrated from Panama kind of enclosed, the fire escape, and they kind of slept back there, husband and wife. They didn't get an apartment until actually Smitty and his family moved out, and they took the apartment downstairs, right? So going away to Hotchkiss was also, a blessing in that sense, in that there was a little bit more room in that alcove for someone else. My family was extremely supportive. They understood the value and importance of education. Like most immigrants coming to the US, especially at that time, 60, 70 years ago, the notion, however false it was, that the streets of especially New York were paved with gold, was the honey that attracted them. The truth and the reality, were different, and you had to hustle. So education was, the way to break through. My father worked at General Motors Corporation as a sweeper for 20 years. It was a graveyard shift, and my mother worked at New York Hospital, and that was a graveyard shift also. So during the week, I was in the South Bronx because there was, no one home during those hours. And on the weekends, I would shuttle back, to Harlem to be, with my mom and my dad. So they were encouraging, supportive, and pretty excited about the opportunity that the GO program seemed to outline, even though they may not have understood it completely. So it was a blessing.
Yeah. Yeah, man, I'm glad to be able to hear this. Tonight, you guys coming from different viewpoints, different experiences is very powerful. I got some. How did they?
So those, just before you go on, I want Dr. Hotchkiss just to talk a little bit about this right here.
All right.
I didn't know you were going to do that. Well, that's
go,
my,
go ahead, Doc.
Yeah, that's my book, Cinnamon with Honey and Nails, and the Spanish translation is Canela con miel y clavos. It's a play on the word clavos because clavos, de olor, also means it's an aromatic, but I played with it because it also means nails. So not everything that's cinnamon and honey is sweet. The trajectory of my life and the people that I've known, we've had some challenging and difficult times. So it's a collection of short stories, travels, poems, and essays. I'm a writer. I'm a member of the Harlem Writers Guild. And my first inspiration for writing was Amiri Baraka. At the time, he was known as Leroy Jones. And my dad handed me, this was actually the summer after I came back, the first summer from Hotchkiss. And it was the dead lecturer. And the angst and trauma that I experienced coming off the train from that pristine environment of 800 acres and its own lake back into Harlem created a lot of internal tribulation for me. And I needed to express that. And so somehow he had the wisdom to hand me this book of poems by Leroy Jones. And the other day I was rummaging through my stuff and I saw some of the poems that I wrote back then. It's so painful. based on where I am now. But the kernel of what I was trying to say about our experience as Black people in this country was in those early poems, and they continue to be in what I write and what I do. So that's what that book is all about.
Wow, nice. Yeah, that's all. That's awesome. I got so, I mean, taking in consideration the time. I mean, that what year was it that you guys? 1955.
65.
65, and so, you know, thinking about that, the climate, and just based on what Doc just made his comments, you know, and all of a sudden out of nowhere, this program comes about. How did it come about? Who originated? Who thought of it? And who implemented it? Anybody know?
Larry's our historian, so I'll defer to Larry.
Larry's muted.
Oh,
okay.
From perspective of what was going on in the country at that time, you know, the Hotchkiss Greater Opportunity program came about because of the changes that were going on in the 60s, in the late 50s. You know, but there was a lot of court action on giving minority people their full rights of citizenship. There was some court actions that took place. And Hotchkiss, even though it had been in operation since 1989, 1892, it took on its first Black student in 1951. So between 51 and 65, the world was changing outside of Hotchkiss. Hotchkiss was always supposedly grooming people to go to Yale, Amherst, Harvard schools and be gentlemen that controlled the world, basically. You know, they were taught to be gentlemen. Matter of fact, 12 of the quarter American ambassadors to China have been educated at Hotchkiss. So they were interested in what was going on in the world, the western part of the world anyway. So in 1965, the Equal Opportunity Act was written, signed by Johnson, started by President Kennedy. They had to allow equality in education, jobs, not based on sex or whatever race. So in my opinion, the schools needed to have a hand in integrating the country. And so just, it can be looked at two ways. It can be looked at as the proved superiority. You can say that if I take somebody out of one environment and put them next to kids of a different environment or so-called elitists, they would blossom and do the best they could be. And, you know, a lot of programs came on after that, you know, like CPAP. Hotchkiss wasn't the only one. There was like 8 of them in Connecticut. Prep schools taking in kids from the inner city because of one, they had grant programs, and at Yale, Hotchkiss being a feeder for Yale, we had a priest that came in the 70s. His name was Coffin, William Coffin. He was big on a big civil rights activist back in the 60s. He told people about helping your brother, and not just being, you know, capitalist. You know, the world was going through change. So it was the GO program, in my opinion, these are all my opinions. Some of it's based on fact, some of it's based on looking backwards. They were able to get keep the land grants that were going to colleges like in the South. But they had, in order to be in compliance, they had to be in compliance with law, which was changing. So now they got an incentive to do it, because when our first year, there was a lot of discussion in the community if they wanted us to be up there, the people that surrounded the school. You know, you're going to bring all these black and brown kids up here. You know, what's going to happen to our community? But so it was a learning process for them too. You know, because the first couple of weeks we had to attend church. I'd never been to a white church in my life until I went up to Lakeville, because like I say, the most segregated time in America is on Sunday morning. So you know, it was a lot of religion. It wasn't a spiritual thing to me, in my opinion. It was just read the book and do the next phase and do the next phase and do the next phase. But so for me, it was a different type of church. Anyway, we had to go out and meet and mix with the residents on Sundays, have dinner with them. They look at us, you know, they analyze us, we analyze them, you know, because if we're going to be integrated, because the law says now we're going to be integrated, well, how are we going to know these people except the stereotypes that we see on TV? So the different cultures, different elitism, the status, people, we're going to get to know each other. So it was beneficial for both parties. I wanted to put that in before I lose my train of thought, which I'm accustomed to doing lately.
So what part did Father Kearns play? I mean, and what was his impact on the program and you guys?
His job was to recruit people and make the program a success. Now I believe that came not from his charge for the program, but through his heart. He was the type of person that cared for people. And so when he recruited us, he recruited the best to make sure that we wouldn't fail, you know, because again, it's not who you're sitting next to, it's the environment that you're in, you know? You could, you know, again, because of the way he did it, like, I'll give you an example. I was an honor student. I was an honor student in the 7th grade, but I kept getting into trouble because everybody in my class was Jewish or Irish or Italian, and they didn't want to see a black person in the class. So they kept getting me in trouble. The teachers were in on it. So I was called to the office, and Father Kern was there because he told me, he says, I grew up in the same situation as you. I was raised by my sister. He says, I'm going to change your life. And I'm thinking, okay, what's the game here? You know, I'm a street person. What's in it? What's in it for you? What's in it for me? He said, I'm going to change your life. And I'm thinking, okay. And I'm thinking all the time, I'm going to this elite school in the Northwest Connecticut, around all these rich kids. So I didn't know it was just going to be us. If you listen to what we all explain our background, there's so much similarity in the situations that's uncanny that he saw all of that. And he, you know, he used that to get us into the program. And so because of his choices that he made and the choices that we made to go, I wanted to pick tobacco that summer so I could get paid so I could buy some school clothes. But hey, you're gonna feed me all summer, I'm down. I go up there and hang out. So we did that. And I guess after hearing everybody else's history, we all did that. You know, like I said, I was raised by my sister with 2 other sisters on welfare. And so the only time I saw my family was when that check came. So it was a different situation. So I'll go to another world, you know, and I excelled there. And as an aside, I'll add to how bad it was in Hartford. We moved a lot, being on welfare. And I moved to a new school, and I had all A's and B's, and the principal would not let the teacher give me my report card because she said there's no kid in the North End that smart. So we had to go to the Board of Education to request that they make the principal, give me my report card. They tested me to see what my IQ was. And it came back to be so high, they said, the boy's a genius, leave him alone.
Awesome.
So when I saw Father Kern, he knew he picked right. I just didn't have the ambition or the drive to assimilate into that segregated world because I was taught that God will provide and he will put you on the path you're supposed to be on, and that's all it. You know, he will teach you ahead of time before any, trials and tribulations are going to come, and you're going to be able to decide from that where you're supposed to be. And so I'm right where tonight I'm glad to be here. To be honest with you guys, I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. And I think Albert had some comments as well.
Yeah, I did. First of all, Larry, I hate to disagree with you, but I have to. Father Kern didn't come and just select the best of the best. That wasn't his intent. He selected people who he thought had potential to do better than they were doing. And some of the guys that he picked were real bottom feeders, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
We came from the South Bronx, myself, Lenny Birdsall, and Doc. As a matter of fact, we were all in the same school, in the same class. But there were some guys coming from Brooklyn and Manhattan, Harlem, that were straight up gangsters. They would terrify you if you met them on the street. And so why they were in the program was a question to me, and I think maybe Lenny and Doc. Why are these guys here? We're supposed to be students. These guys don't look like cats like us. We're gentle people. We want to get an education. These guys wanted to hustle, shoot dice, things of that nature, play basketball, and rough up anybody who got in their way. So I think Father Kern selected a wide diversity of people for the program and people that could contribute to the growth of each other as we develop in that program.
And I agree with you. You're not disagreeing with me. I just didn't say it that way. But I agree with you 100%. I could tell by my roommates how the rooms with people would be in place.
Right.
So we can help each other. So,
Yeah.
You're right.
And Doc.
Can I make a point? This is in support of both Larry and Al. But I spoke with Father Kern and I asked him that specific question. And he had never shared that with us before. He was very clear about who he selected and why he selected them. For people like myself, Smitty, Lenny, Larry, he said, we didn't really need the program. We were going to be successful anyway, somehow. He put us in the program in people like us so that we would rub off, so to speak, on the folks that Smitty was talking about, so that all ships would rise together. And that was his hope. For the most part, I think it did work. There was always going to be, those individuals that no matter what you do, they're just not going to comply and not take advantage of the opportunity. But conscious design was to put different groups of people together with the hope of focusing on those that needed it the most by example of those who could do it. And so that was his plan and that was his plan.
That's good.
Good.
I thought Leonard, he's on mute though.
You got to unmute yourself, Leonard.
Leonard, you're on mute.
We'll get him.
Where do I unmute?
There you go.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I'm glad you guys talked about that subject. Just referring back, I was voted in as the student body president for the first couple of years, right? So I spoke with Father Kern about the selection process. And a lot of the students he said he wanted were the B and B plus students. He said because the whole point in the program was to show improvement. If you were an A student, everything was A, there's no improvement. Okay, if you're a B student and now you're an A, there's the improvement. And that's what he had spoke to me about. And, that's a couple of people, got into the program because of that,
Can I add another point?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So this is the context historically of the GO program. Larry, makes some points about that. The year before we went away, James Powell was murdered by, I think his name was Thomas Gilligan, a police officer here in Harlem. That's 1964. And a peer, it's a peer of us. I didn't know him, but same age. We had the context of the strike and all the students from the high schools, the junior high schools in New York City that winter, if I'm not mistaken. We had the Civil Rights Act, passed in 64, the Voting Rights Act passed in 65. 20 years before that, Auschwitz was freed by the Russians. So to speak, liberated by the Russians. I bring all that up because I asked Father Kern about the context historically for why he directed the program the way he did. I wanted to know from his perspective, what did he mean by greater opportunity means greater responsibility? And he paused because no one had ever asked him that question. He used to sit in front of us or stand in front of us in the chapel, and he would say, greater opportunity means greater responsibility. And we all interpreted that individually. But for him, it included the historical context of who we were as Black and brown people. He grew up in the South Bronx, and he said the people that raised and supported him and protected him were Black. And so he wanted to make sure that in this program, we would get the best opportunity to be at our best. Now, he never said, I want you to be a civil rights activist. I want you to do this to Black people, etc. But in talking with him recently, this is just about 2 weeks ago, it was clear in his mind that that was part of the hope, that we would come back to our communities and we would do something constructive and active to help those of us who didn't have the opportunity like we enjoyed in Brooklyn. So that's part of something that needed to be said. And I think that's what makes the 60th anniversary reunion of the GO program that much more significant.
That's good. And, I mean, you were going through whatever you were going through, wherever you were living, right, at that period of time. And probably around the structure or the experience was around culture. We all around our own other Black people. And then now all of a sudden now you're pulled out and you're put in this environment, right? And what was your experience around in that environment around discrimination when you got up there? Because I heard you mention a little bit earlier, some people didn't want you there. In some of the articles, I've seen some of the articles of the goals that they wanted, the school to be, the goal was 10%. If we can get 10%, and then some people didn't want you there, right? And so, what was that experience like, living in that time, and then I said being chosen to go into a whole new experience?
You want to go, Smitty?
Yeah, we were selected to go into the program, in my opinion, which was established as an educational experiment. We were the test dummy, so to speak. And we were being tested across all kind of areas: sociological, financial, spiritual, athletic, you name it. They tested us in these areas. Could we get along with community people, a la the Sunday Go to Dinner program? Could we get along with our white professors and teachers? Could we get along with each other? Being that we came from different environments, from Hartford, Connecticut, New Haven, Brooklyn, South Bronx, etc. and so forth. And once we got along, how was that going to work? Father Kern was a master at integrating us into a cohesive body of people who understood we had to succeed, so to speak, if this program was going to be a success and maybe be repeated again for other people who come behind us. To this day, as far as I'm concerned, the program was a success. I'm going to take myself as an example, and Doc, and Larry and Leonard. I'm a professional architect. I came back to the city. Well, let me step back. I graduated from the Hotchkiss School, myself and Doc, as full-time students. I attended Wesleyan University in Middletown, Connecticut, with a great class of brothers. I graduated from Columbia University Graduate School of Architecture, and I've been practicing architecture as an independent architect since 1988. All of my work is substantially built around restoring the physical environment that I come from. I'm a rehab specialist, and I have rehabbed over 400 buildings in the city of New York in our communities. Now, I didn't have to do that, but I wanted to do that. And that was my give back with the skill set and the knowledge that I obtained from going to Hotchkiss, Wesleyan, Columbia, and being around other motivated Black people, brothers who wanted to do something positive with themselves, and just give back and be responsible for using the opportunity that was given to us and to me.
Wow. Yeah. Have just a quick question. Now this is the 60th anniversary, so many of you probably gone back. There've been a lot of reunions,
Yes.
right? And so, how long did the program actually last? Did it ever stop? Did it continue, or are there more persons of color in the school now?
Yeah. So
right now,
go ahead,
the school is co-ed for one thing. In '71 it went co-ed again. Title IX. The laws change, the situation changes on the ground. So in '69, the board approved allowing girls to come in. So a high percentage of the school now is girls. We have people from all over the world coming in as students, but the GO program stopped in 1971. So it was only 2 more terms after us. Right. And after these guys, they were only in the first term, coming from New York. The second group that started in 70, 60, 68, 69, 70 was all Connecticut. The state of Connecticut picked it up. After the grant money ran out, the state paid and became the SPEAR program. And Father Kern also directed that program. It was a state-run program. And they had certain objectives they had to meet. Again, we were having so much on the ground court cases. We had Chef versus O'Neill, this historic state landmark decision that said they could bust kids out of the inner city, out to the suburbs. If they sit next to a certain person, they're supposed to get smaller all of a sudden. So those programs started all over and became an economic engine in my neighborhood. The poor people got jobs driving the school bus. The new schools had to be built. A new administrative structure had to be accomplished, to do a regional school system. And all this federal money came in. So, and now, today, 60 years later, that same system is in place. We call it Capital Region Educational Council instead of a local board of education. And so the money goes there. And now it comes back to your neighborhood if the people outside of your neighborhood decides you need it. You hear what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. You just lost control of your destiny in that respect, because the world was changing. And that was a result of the world changing from a dominant culture versus cultures coming from Europe, people coming from South America, people coming from the South. I don't know if I said it earlier, my family came out of Georgia. They stopped in Harlem. Everybody stopped in New York coming from the South because Harlem was a predominantly Black neighborhood. And they went from Hartford, Connecticut, Newark, New Jersey. So I got family all along Lenox Avenue, 125th Street. So it's the same thing. But the school system didn't get better in the inner city by us doing it, but the people that were given us opportunity, the great opportunity, we got better. And the responsibility that I saw was to not let Father Kern down. The great opportunity means greater responsibility. We were responsible to the teachers at Hotchkiss. The ones back in the city, they weren't responsible for us. They didn't try and nurture us. It wasn't a universal thing to help a black or poor kid rise, you know. And back then we had a lot of, I don't want to talk about religion too much as far as which sect is different than others, but most of the schools in my neighborhood were Catholic-run schools. The better ones, St. Augustine, St. Joseph, St. this, St. whatever. And so when the Equal Rights Act passed, they disbanded a lot of those schools. And a lot of those teachers that were in those schools became public school teachers. They had a chip on their shoulder just like we did. We were being marginalized, told don't excel, don't do this, don't do that, because all you're going to do is get a job. You're not going to be a leader or anything. You're going to get a job and try and survive. With the growth program, they told us we could be leaders. And all of us, I believe, are doing some type of leadership role after we left. Like I worked 2 jobs. I worked for the U.S. Postal Service. And my main reason for being in the Postal Service was because they had a union. I had worked at other places or attempted to get other places. They wouldn't let me in. They would say, oh, we're not hiring now. We'll get you later or whatever, until they found that I could write letters, and I tried to sue UPS. I tried to sue another place, because they were telling me there was no openings, and I had people on the inside were telling me they're bringing people in every day. But that was the time. DEI, I guess they call it now, but it was the time then, and we survived through it. But I've always worked. I was a shop steward for 25 years, APW, LIUNA, and American Postal Workers Union. Both unions used my talents that that was put in me by different certificate programs. I'm a community activist in Hartford. I was president of the board for Organized Northeasterners, Clay Hill Northeast. We did housing. We built new housing in the programs. And I got two buildings in Hartford, 12-unit buildings with my name posted on it. So I'm proud of that.
Awesome.
I raised my kids here. I've been married for 52 years. Again, like I said, on the outside of the poor neighborhood. And over the last 10 years, I've had kids come back and thank me for being the Huxtables in the neighborhood. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have done this. I wouldn't, sometimes you feel like, what choice did you make? Was the decision right? And I've had people come on my front porch and tell me, Mr. Williams, appreciate you.
Awesome.
That's a good feeling. So,
yes, it is. I think we got that's Natasha Smith. It says, my father's Al Smith III, imposed some of those Hotchkiss ways on me during my schooling days, helping me to study habits, organization, forcing me to research, just to mention a few. And I could go on. All right, you got a shout out there.
Yeah, I see that. Okay. Thank you, Tasha.
And that's my goddaughter.
That's your goddaughter?
Yes.
Quick question, gentlemen. I have a question for you. Lowe's at the beginning of the show talked about the ripple effect of the show. Talk about the ripple effect of the Hotchkiss School.
And the GOLD program.
This is Doc. I think that part of the challenge of trying to really understand the impact of the GO program is that the majority of us individually benefited from it. Systemically, if you look at the country historically, the GO program didn't do anything systemically to change anything. 60 years later, we're dealing with what we're dealing with for the last 30, 45 days, all over again. individually, greater opportunity means greater responsibility. So we digested that and interpreted that, and we did what we do and what we continue to do individually. But systemically, the GO program didn't change anything in that way. There have always been good people of goodwill that didn't look like us, that focused on our humanity and were willing to support us as a group of ethnically similar individuals, Black folks. So we have that throughout our history. But, Hotchkiss as a school, as Larry mentioned earlier, has been designed to produce captains of industry. Black folks aren't necessarily seen as captains of industry, but rather competition. Right? So individual Black folks might do what they do, but to come back and let's say do something to change the Harlem community in that way, that would be problematic.
Yeah.
Problematic. So the GO program, through the vision of Father Kern and his good heart, his good spirit, impacted us individually, but it wasn't designed, in my opinion. And if you read the bylaws and the objectives of the GO program, the program was designed to, as Leonard said earlier, was to see if that could influence some degree of change and improvement for those students who participated in it. By default, hopefully you would take something like that and bring it to your community.
Right.
The greater power would have been take Hotchkiss and bring that to the community and do something with it. Right? Now they did that in '68 moving forward. And by that I mean they had the summer program, but then they also had the follow-up during the winter program, during the winter schooling session. The inaugural program didn't have that. So we're dropped into this pristine environment for 8 weeks, and we're then dropped back into where we came from without any support. And so you have to figure that out for yourself. Now, luckily, most of us were kind of able to do that, but some of us fell by the wayside. And that's because it wasn't designed to have a systemic effect, but rather an individual effect. I was lucky enough to be saved by Father Kern because I was, wrongly arrested, and it was he who got me out of jail and had my record expunged. So, that was my personal success and benefit from Father Kern. But how many other folks didn't have that benefit? A lot of the brothers that we grew up with didn't make it. Never mind the GO program, they had to deal with the police and drugs, etc. So the GO program wasn't designed to change the history of how America treats folks that don't look like the minority. Well, not the minority, that look like the minority population.
Right.
So that's my take on it.
So what do you?
You're 100% right, Doc.
Yeah. So what? I mean, if we talk currently as we come to our closing, we talk currently. I mean, what would be your thoughts of what could be done today, right? That could be similar or implemented in today's society. I mean, at a larger scale. I mean, how do we implement something like this? Because it seems to be very tough. I don't know the progress right now. I don't know the progress of our public schools, and I don't even know right now. It used to be, everybody said in the past, when you have Catholic schools, and there are a lot of them that have shut down, right? And there are a lot of them that we now attend. And the question for me would be, are those schools having the same impact educationally? I know that they are opening their doors for more sports in terms of African American men or black men coming and playing more sports, but is there an educational impact today? And how do we do that? How do we, how do we, take the GO program and and make it kind of universal of what we need to be focused on of the impact that it had on you guys.
Can I get to that?
Yes, sir.
I have firsthand knowledge of that because when I was able financially to send I sent my oldest and my youngest son to parochial schools, and I tried to get one of my sons into a preparatory school here in Connecticut, and I had, you got to pay for it. But I went through the admissions office, and I thought we were going to, sign them up for school. They sent me down to the coach. And it just struck a bad nerve with me because I had a gym teacher. I used to box in elementary school. And the coach took me up to a school, and it was the same deal. This was in 1967. No, excuse me, 64. But I wasn't even in high school yet. He tried to get me into Deerfield Academy. Again, through the coach's office. So it hasn't changed. If anything, it's getting regressive, especially with today's climate. People are using all kinds of reasons to put you back to where you're not deemed deserving of a quality education because you're not going to lead the country. You're not going to lead the world. You're going to get a job and you're going to hopefully provide for your family. If you have a family, because now the family structure is under change also in this country. Can I read a piece that I just looked up that I want to share with you guys? It's short. It won't take but a minute.
Okay.
Jesus tried to change people by loving and healing them. His harshest words of judgment were reserved for those who perpetuated systems of inequality and oppression and who, through religion itself, thought they were sinless and untouchable. Until people learn that lesson, we're going to have the same problems 60 years down the road that we had 60 years ago. So I just wanted to throw that in there for food for thought because I see a change is going to come, like Sam Cooke used to say, and it's changing again right in front of us.
Yeah.
So the last 30 days is proof it's out of the closet. We're going to do it. There's a book that I read, American Awakening. I think, what's the name of this book? There's a Harvard professor. She talks about the history, especially civil rights, which impacts all of us. In her book, Democracy Awakening, Notes on the State of America by Heather Cox Richardson. It tells the whole game. That what happened then and what's happening now has been planned since the Civil War. And Trump is just here to implement the program. And so I just wanted to throw that out there.
And Eartha got a question down there at the bottom real quick before. What are some of the classes the program offered while you guys were there?
I'll share real quick, and this is in reference to your emphasis on dealing with illiteracy. We learned speed reading, which is an invaluable tool for self-education. And so we were able to learn to read at such a rapid rate, but with 85 to 90% comprehension. So at first summer, most of us read, over 50 to 100 books with 85 to 90% comprehension.
That's right.
And so that's powerful.
Yeah, it is.
Never would we have gotten that at Dewitt Clinton High School or Alexander Burger Junior High School, where we went to, in the South Bronx. So here we have to go off, 100 miles to an 800 pristine, educational situation to pick up a tool that everyone should be privy to. So that's one of the major courses that I know I benefited from when I was at the high school. The GO program, not the Hotchkiss School. I just want to say real quick, you asked about the tension that we may or may not have experienced. I didn't experience any tension during the GO program, summer program. I did, however, when Smitty and I matriculated as full-time students at the Hotchkiss School. was, the Go program, the majority looked like me. But the Hotchkiss school, we were definitely the minority. And it was very evident, if not spoken. This first time I was calling niggas at Hotchkiss was when I was full-time at the Hotchkiss school. And somebody just lost their temper, and that's what came out their mouth. But it was evident that there was this strong feeling that we did not belong there, that I felt, that I picked up. And other people may not have picked up on that. So that's all I needed to say about that.
Leonard?
Yeah, one of the other classes we learned was the new math. Okay, they didn't do new math in the public schools in New York. Okay, and I had a hard time picking up the concept until Mr. Haas, the teacher, took me aside and worked with me after class a few times, and finally I got it. I mean, I had it. But as soon as we got back to New York City, we didn't use it. Okay, it was valueless. All right, until I got into nursing school. All of the nursing math was new math. Okay, all of it. How many drops per minute infusing 300 cc's over 4 hours or whatever it was? That's new math. Okay, so it turned out to be a lifelong lesson.
Wow.
Lowe's,
Yes, sir.
to me, the Go program was a mindset changer. Okay. Coming from DeWitt Clinton, coming from junior high school, 139, PS 154, PS 9, all in the South Bronx, and being in what was considered the A class, the smart class. When we got to Hotchkiss in the Go program, we could see visibly, we were not as advanced educationally as we thought we were. So the quality of the education that we had gotten, while it was good, it wasn't as good as what we were going to get from that Go program. And then when Doc and I were selected to go to Hotchkiss full time, it was even more pronounced. Like, gee whiz, this education is synonymous to owning a Chevrolet versus a Mercedes or a Rolls Royce. The quality was just that different. And so in my mind, being educated at a higher level, especially in that environment that Doc keeps referring to, this pristine college setting with all this beautiful facilities, was something that made getting an education very easy to embrace. I learned how to go through college and get my education easily. It wasn't a strain. And as a matter of fact, I loved it. I enjoyed the trip, the brotherhood, the people I met along the way. It all came from that Go program, because when we were growing up in the South Bronx, not everybody was on the same mindset level. So a lot of cats who were growing up with us, who were close to us, tight friends, they're no longer here. They're gone. They didn't make it. We got around people and mindsets that encouraged us to go get educated, to go want to do something better with your life, and then to come back to the community and want to do something even more significant with your skill set. And I think that's where we benefited immensely from that program. And Father Kern, God bless him, planted the seed in all of us in his own way. And he watered it, he nurtured us individually throughout those years. And even now, over 60 years, he's still doing the same thing. That's why we want to honor him at our 60th anniversary, because he did that for us. And now we need to do that for others.
Yeah, because my daughter is a principal at PS 41 in the Bronx. right now. She's been the principal for a little while now. She was first a teacher, and then assistant principal, and now the principal of the school, elementary school there. So yeah, I'm thinking like this is, wow. I mean, you talk about speed reading. Nobody even talk about speed reading anymore. I haven't heard speed reading in years. I mean, when the last time you heard something about speed reading? You haven't heard it. And then you said something, Albert, that was so important, right? The Hotchkiss program created a mindset, right? Which means that there was a paradigm shift, right? Behaviors, programs were all changed in you guys. I mean, and that's powerful. And I think that we need that kind of thing today. We need a paradigm shift, right? Because we keep doing the same things, expecting a different result, and we're just not getting it. And we're spending more and more resource. I mean, we're spending millions and millions of dollars, and people can't learn to read, can't get educated. Right. And not at the I'm not gonna paint with a broad brush, not at the level that it should be. Right. I mean, we should be really, really excelling. So I want to thank you guys, man. I want to give each one of you a moment to make some final comments before we jump off here. I'm gonna start with Leonard, man. Have some final comments, final thoughts. My wife has been showing some pictures. I think she's been showing some pictures of the Hotchkiss, doing the course. I think, what's the name?
What's that?
No, go ahead. Yeah, she's going to be showing some pictures while you guys make your phone.
I'm going to show a comment real quick.
You got a comment?
Yeah.
It says, thanks for this program. A lot of who my father and his best friends, Robert, Leonard, are today because of this program. We're black men.
That's another one of Al's girls.
Al's girls. Al's girls.
and that's Robert's goddaughter.
Robert's goddaughter.
Well, he had enough girls to give each of you a goddaughter.
Yeah, I was heading that way. I was heading that way with the girls. I had two. And my wife said, we got to try for the boys. I said, no, I can't be in a house with like 3 women, 4 women. No. And we were fortunate. We got a son, and then we got another son. So, I don't know how you did it, Albert. Okay.
No. Leonard has the 6 daughters.
Oh, Leonard has the 6th daughter. Oh, I don't know how you did it, Leonard. Oh, my God.
Expensive.
Yeah, I see you got your hair cut down real low.
Very expensive, yeah.
You talking about 6 weddings? Oh, my God.
No, none of them married.
Woo! Okay. Yeah. So, Leonard, go ahead. Hit us with some.
I'm just appreciative of you giving us this format to, express, our experience there. And, hey, I wish all the best to all our young scholars. Hopefully they'll take us where we need to be. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah. All right, Doc. That's on mute.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks again, Lowe's and Eartha, for making this opportunity possible to highlight the historical significance of the 60th anniversary reunion of the Hotchkiss Go program. In partial answer to your last question, I think 2 things would be helpful. One is to include economic education in our education, because we have the cultural and everything else, but we always tend to leave out the economic education. And in addition to that, like Malcolm wanted to do, and I believe Martin Luther King also wanted to do, I think we should extend our hands internationally and create coalitions with other educational institutions around the world the people that look like us to have that systemic effect at some point in the future.
Nice. All right. Larry Lawrence.
Again, thanks for having me here and us here. The story behind our condition back in the 60s, the nation's condition in the 60s should be passed on to everyone because it's in transition now. And the thing that we've worked hard to get, we can lose it all but the stroke of a pen. So we should be aware of that. We should be aware of our history, which is American history. All of us came to this country looking for a better start for us and our families. I appreciate everything I've gotten out of this country. I don't like the way leadership has taken on the role of picking winners and losers. But Hotchkiss alleviated some of that because it gave us a chance to be winners. You know, like I said, I was fortunate enough to get a lot of programs. I've had a lot of jobs. I've been financial planner. I've been insurance salesman. I've worked for the YMCA. I've been a swimming coach. I've worked on the boards for the neighborhood development. I'm the treasurer of one right now up Albany NRZ. We deal with federal grants, you know, and the expertise that we bring to the table is invaluable. And I owe what I know to Hotchkiss. And the other part of what I know, I owe to the world. Because coming from one spot, going to another, you can't just drop somebody in like that and drop them back out. And I'll pass that on.
I like that. Yeah.
Well said. Well said.
Albert, I think the final before I close out. And let me say this before he goes. Thank you guys. I appreciate this. Got a lot from it. You know who would have learned, who would have, if he was here, he would have enjoyed this?
Isaiah?
No, your dad.
Oh, my daddy. Yes.
Yeah, he was an educator, you know, assistant principal for many years in the Yonkers School District. Lived in Mount Vernon, eventually moved from Yonkers to Mount Vernon. He would have loved you guys, man, because the one thing I know about my wife, her sister, and her brother, man, and my kids, right, was that my father-in-law taught them about history, their history.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, from when they were little, he said, "Come over here, let me share this with you." You know, W.E.B. Du Bois, you know, all the poets, they knew how to recite them.
Yeah.
I mean, he taught them about history. Is one thing that we still lack today. There's no Black history classes, right? You know, to talk about Black history, and that's what my father-in-law would have loved this today. So I want to say thank you. Go ahead, Albert. You guys, you got a comment before Albert goes?
No. I've been thoroughly impressed by the strength of knowledge and wisdom that has been part of this program today from these amazing men. And I think one of your daughters, Albert, you know, spoke it quite well, eloquently when she said, you know, these strong, you know, Black men, educated and, you know, just doing great things. And then the ripple effect of the children going to college because of what was instilled in their fathers. So shout out to you, my brothers. God bless you and heaven smile upon you.
Thank you. So my parting comment is that we need to impart to our young people, men, women, boys and girls, plan your work and then work your plan. It's that simple. We've done it and they can do it.
Awesome. I love that picture behind you too, by the way. Uh-huh. And so I want to say thank you guys. I mean, yeah, I truly appreciate. I thank Eartha for, she said, man, because, I mean, I know Eartha know a lot of people, but she hasn't brought anybody to me.
Eartha is because I got my book because of Eartha, too.
Yeah, Eartha helped my wife with her book. And she's helping me right now with my doing a revision of it and trying to get it back out there because I was working at the time, so I didn't have a whole lot of time to promote a book. But now that I'm retired, right, I think I can focus a little bit more on that. But thank you, Eartha. Appreciate that because this is, history, particularly Black history, is very important to me. Right, and we have to rebuild that bridge. Mm-hmm. Right, I don't know. Many of our kids don't talk about Black history. Right, and in schools we only get a moment. You get a one day, man. Can you write a paper on something? Right, and then that's it. Right, and then we don't talk about it any longer. But thank you guys, appreciate you. And to each and everyone who are listening, who will listen, because this stays on, forever, right? And so a lot of people will be going to it, making comments. And to each and every one of you who support the Blueprint Podcast each and every week, I thank you. Please don't forget to subscribe or like on Facebook or YouTube. And I look forward to seeing you next week. God bless you. And I say this every week. If the Lord allow you to wake up tomorrow, make tomorrow your masterpiece. God bless you and good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you for having me.
That's it.
Come on now.
Smitty, I'll see you Saturday.
Okay, Leonard.
We really hope you enjoyed this episode of Lowe's More, the Blueprint Podcast. Stay connected and follow us at our website, www.lowesmore.com. That's LOWESMOORE.com. You can also join the discussion on Twitter at Lowe's More and on Facebook at Lowe's More Jr. As always, thank you for pushing your mindset towards a better reality. This concludes the most thought-provoking portion of your day. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this podcast to stay fully up to date with everything we're up to. Until next time, be kind to yourself and each other.
What they teaching is a joke. I ain't buying it like I'm broke. Insufficient funds for insignificant.